A vendor walks into your quarterly business review and puts a number on the screen. 87% conversion. Nobody challenges it. Why would they? 87% sounds fantastic. And it's usually sitting in a polished deck surrounded by other numbers designed to tell you things are going pretty darn well. 6 months later, though, digital sales are flat, but the conversion rate is still 87%. Here's the problem. That number isn't wrong. It's just not the number you probably think it is. We tend to talk about conversion rate as though there's an agreed upon definition of what constitutes conversion. There isn't. In restaurant digital ordering, conversion rate can mean several different things depending on who's doing the measuring, what part of the experience they control, and most importantly, who they've decided counts in the denominator. That last part is, well, that's where things get really interesting. Of course. Your ordering platform owns the ordering experience. It doesn't necessarily own your website, location finder, promotional pages, catering pages, or the Google search results someone clicked because they wanted tacos at 6:40 on a Tuesday night. It sees the portion of the guest journey that happens inside its system, so naturally, that's the portion it measures. This is where you'll sometimes hear terms like engaged guests. Every vendor has its own definition, which is why I'd recommend asking yours to put theirs in writing. In many cases, though, an engaged guest is someone who has already demonstrated some level of purchase intent. They've reached a menu, started an order, added something to the order, the bag, the cart, whatever you call it, or taken some other action that moves them further down the funnel. That changes the math considerably when looking at conversion rates. Let me put it to you this way. If I start counting people only after they've demonstrated that they want to order, then measure how many of those people complete an order, I'm not really measuring my brand's ability to convert demand into revenue. I'm measuring how well the ordering system closes people who have already raised their hands. There's nothing inherently wrong with that metric. In fact, it's an important one. If people are starting orders and suddenly failing to complete them, I want to know immediately. Maybe checkout's broken. Maybe there's a payment problem. Maybe some bit of friction has been introduced that's costing transactions. That metric can help us find it and fix it and increase the conversion rate. But what it can't tell me is how effectively the entire digital experience turns hungry people into paying customers. And that's an important distinction because the journey doesn't begin when someone starts an order. It begins way earlier. Someone searches for your brand online. They land on your website. They look for the nearest restaurant or browse a promotion or even find something on your menu on the marketing site. They check the menu. They try to click, and then they get whisked away somewhere else. And that decision is where the problem really can lie. When they decide whether anything looks good enough to bother continuing, they then are entered into a separate ordering experience that may or may not be primed to convert. Some make it to their ordering experience, a lot of them don't. Those people disappear from the platform's conversion calculation before the calculation even started. That also explains why these reported conversion rates can look so spectacular. High 80s, low 90s. Numbers that would make almost any other e-commerce business wonder what kind of sorcery restaurants have discovered. We haven't discovered anything. We just changed the denominator. When you remove most of the people who didn't buy before calculating the percentage of people who bought, you're not going to get a very impressive number. That's not arithmetic, it's achievement. And I think that's where restaurant leaders need to get much more curious about the metrics presented to them. The question isn't simply, what's our conversion rate? The better question is, conversion from what? Because 87% conversion rate among people who have already started ordering can coexist quite comfortably with a digital experience that loses an enormous amount of demand before anyone reaches the menu. Both numbers can be completely accurate. They're simply answering different questions. In fact, we've seen a huge drop-off from marketing.coms to ordering channels. It's a jolt. It's a completely different brand experience. So you're seeing anywhere from low 70s to early 80s in drop-off, and then the 87% kicks in. So in my next video, I'm going to show exactly how dramatic that difference can be using 1 week of data from one restaurant brand. Same website, same traffic, same order, same period. The only thing I'm going to change is who counts. Do that, and an 87% conversion rate becomes 13%. Nobody lied, nobody manipulated the data, and the 87% was technically accurate. But in the next exercise, I'm going to essentially count everyone, and you're going to see that number drop down a lot. And that's the number that truly matters when you're looking at a conversion rate. So do like and subscribe, because there will be another video or two tackling this head on. And you can take the learnings and use it to evaluate your own data and numbers and make sure that all of the hard work you're doing to drive people to your digital channels are being measured correctly and accurately. Till next time, cheers.